to open my blinds real quick. Give me more light.
No problem. Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw. We are live here on location at Garnet and Gold with the one and only, the voice, Gene Deckerhoff. Gene, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful, it feels like October, mid-season football weather, and I can't wait till, at my signature, I can't wait till Joe hits leather, but I don't think they're going to kick the ball off today. It's going to be a scrimmage, and but this is ideal football, unless you're a throwing team with a quarterback that worries about the wind, but maybe the wind will be a little less inside the stadium than it is in my front yard as we speak today.
Yeah, I was going to say we're getting blown all over down here with the wind. So I'm a little jealous that you're indoors and with your nice toasty cup of coffee. But well, we appreciate you doing this. Appreciate Garnet and Gold for having us out. If you guys aren't down here, come down. Garnet and Gold, they've got a barbecue smoker they're tempting me with out front. Whole bunch of good stuff that you can pick up here, including, I want to talk about this first, including your shirt, the voice shirt, honoring your time here. Talk to us about the shirt, Garnet and Gold doing that, and how neat it was that they kind of put that together.
It was really neat, and Tara and Guy put together a couple of designs, and they sent it to me, and I said, let's do this one, and then they did a little tweaking of this and that, and it came out really, really nice. I'm honored to have a T-shirt with my name on it. I mean, it's a good-looking shirt, and I understand a lot of folks are buying them, and maybe we'll wear them proudly and say, that's the voice.
Absolutely. No, I'm planning on getting mine and getting it worn, and might even wear it. I might have to put something over it with the temperature dropping and the sun going down tonight, but I'm going to wear mine proud of the game tonight. So, hey, I know that you've done a lot of interviews over the years where you're on this side of it. And I know you've done a lot where you're on that side too, but being interviewed. But, I think people never get tired of hearing some of the old stories. So I'll tell you one, and then we'll kind of go back and forth a little bit and talk about it. But as big of a Florida State fan as I am, I got introduced to you through the Bucks, right? I live in Tampa, and that was that. So driving home from church on Sundays, we'd be listening to you call the Bucks games. And so, how talk to us just about some of the highlights from the NFL and college, whether it be Super Bowl or national champion. Like, what is it? You hear players say like trying not to get too amped up in those big games. Do you have to do the same thing? Do you have to kind of step back and say like, all right, I'm calling a national champion, or I'm calling a Super Bowl here like you did last year? What's that like?
Well, if you don't get amped up, you shouldn't be in the broadcast business, because I get amped up for every football broadcast, but and basketball broadcast, and I used to do baseball on Sun Sports, now Bally Sports. I did that for about 24 years, but I always get pumped up, and it begins with preparation, TJ. It begins when you start on Tuesday or Wednesday, and you start putting the stats together and the starting lineups together, the depth charts together, and you put 8, 10, 12, 16 hours into each team that you're working preparing for, and I guess by the time toe hits leather, you're ready. Let's get this thing going. I'm tired of working. Let's go ahead and have some fun. So no, I do get amped up, but that's the fun part of the job I do is the actual broadcast. The hard work is the preparation, watching the video, doing the interviews, talking to coaches. And in the college level, it's a little tougher. In the pro level, you get, reams of information on both every player on the team, all the coaches, every one of the games, game to game. And NFL games take a little bit more preparation. Here's the thing. When I first started broadcasting Florida State basketball, I'd put the depth charts on a 5x8 card. Now it's got a legal size. It's 8.5 by 14, and it's off a computer. It's got all the stats, free throws. In football, it's different stats. First, third down completions, rushing yards, passing yards, sacks allowed, sacks made, defensive rush. But that's the way the game has changed. And if you don't prepare for the broadcast, not everybody. That's a generalization, and all generalizations are false, including this one. But if you're not prepared, the fans know it, and they'll switch off to somebody else who's more prepared than you are. And we learned when we joined the Atlantic Coast Conference in basketball, those folks on Tobacco Road, they know every single thing about each and every team in the league, and you better be prepared as a broadcaster to put that information out correctly, or otherwise, like I said, they're going to flip the dial and go somewhere else to get their information and follow the football team. So we try. Number one, we know that the Seminole audience is going to be there with us, but they don't want us making mistakes. They want us cheering on our team. But the listener that really doesn't have any skin in the game, so to speak, a dog in the hunt, so to speak, if they're listening and the broadcaster sounds good, but he makes mistakes, they're not going to listen very much longer. So you have to be prepared. And Red Barber, who lived his final years here in Tallahassee, Florida. Red Barber, great broadcaster, CBS sports director, and voice of the New York teams. He once said, is sort of a spin on what Thomas said, is broadcasting sports events is 90% preparation and 10% inspiration. And so I live by that. I get inspired. That's a long answer, by the way, TJ.
I like it. When you're in some of those memorable moments, the fans remember the call just as much as they remember the play. People, when you announced that you're retiring, people were asking on social media and on different things that we did, what was your favorite Deckerhoff call? I'll never forget when Brooks took the interception back in the Super Bowl, and that was, there it is, the dagger's in. We're, when we beat Duke 10 years ago this year, and you said, I've never heard this before, but you said the little team that could just did. How do you think of that? Like you said, is it just in the moment? Like whatever comes out, but those moments those calls are just so iconic.
Yeah, Michael Snare and time running out, the horn sounds as the balls of the year. And the little team that could just did win. And when you play Duke, you're the little team, by golly. I mean, Duke was the big guy on the block and they're the king of the hill. And that, by the way, was just our second win ever at Cameron Indoor Stadium. And that's all we've had. And God, it was this 26th, 27th year in the Atlantic Coast Conference. So it's tough to win at Cameron. And the Knowles certainly did with Michael Snare. I thought we had a chance a couple of other times, but we did not. And how about the Derrick Brooks, the interception? The Bucs are going to win the Super Bowl, and it's only the third quarter. All of a sudden, Oakland scores 2 quick touchdowns. I'm like, whoa, why did I say it? You're not supposed to say that. But, that was a highlight. The Seminoles. I have the catch. Caught, touchdown, FSU, touchdown. Florida State takes the lead with 16 seconds to go to win the BCS National Championship over Auburn. That's going to be number one on my list. And I'll tell you what, for fans that attended the 1994 Florida State versus Florida game at Doak Campbell Stadium, it's one of those. It's one of those touchdowns. Well, it's just a five-yard touchdown. But Rock Preston, 4, 5, 3, 2, 1, touchdown! It's a touchdown! And 1 point after ties the ball game at 31-31. And to me, that's one of my most favorite calls of all time, because Rock Preston took that thing like a dart and scored the touchdown. We get the point, and we almost won that game, by the way, after trailing by 28 points starting the fourth quarter. But those are some of the, and I had with the Knowles, just some great plays. Warwick Dunn's touchdown against Florida in 93. Kermit Whitfield's 100-yard touchdown on a kickoff return against Auburn. The list goes on. And just the punt, Ruski, obviously, that's number 2. And where Leroy Butler, Leroy to the 30, Leroy to the 20, Leroy Butler to the 14. He's out of bounds at the 3. And we kicked the field goal to beat highly ranked, I think they were 4th ranked or 3rd ranked Clemson Tigers on a rainy day up in Clemson, South Carolina. That was 1988, a game that I'll never forget. My mother and father were there. And they had driven up from Jacksonville, and Ann came with them, and they were at the ball game. They came up in an RV, and they watched that game, and we watched history being made. And you mentioned the Buccaneers. The Bucs had never returned a punt for a touchdown. Vernon Turner did it for the Buccaneers. You're seeing history. Vernon Turner, touchdown, Tampa Bay. And then Michael Spurlock, run, Michael. And those were the first 2 punt and kick returns in history of the Buccaneers. So I had a chance to broadcast some historic games, and obviously the Super Bowls, the 2 Super Bowls. And we pick off the pass to deny Kansas City a score that would have made it close, and defeat a great Kansas City team in Super Bowl 55 there. Those are great memories, not just for me, but I think they're great memories, like yourself, TJ, great memories for fans that follow their favorite football teams.
Yeah, I as a Bucs guy, and I know that a lot of our people here are Florida State here, but as a Bucs guy, my favorite 2 players to hear you call their games were Mike Allstott,
Yeah. Allstott up the gut.
Yeah. Mike Allstott was so much fun. And then it was cool to hear. I know he's no longer with the Bucks, but it was cool to hear you go directly from calling Jameis's games here to the Bucks. How neat was that as a broadcaster to get to call his games on Saturdays and then Sundays as well?
Well, that goes back to Derek Brooks, TJ. You mentioned Derek Brooks' touchdown in Super Bowl 37. And when Derek was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, ownership of the Buccaneers, the Glazer family, but they chartered a 767. That's a big airplane. I think it holds about 230, something like 240, but it was packed with with friends, former coaches, current coaches, family, broadcasters, and we all flew up from Tampa to Canton in one day, and we got the tour of the Hall of Fame. Then we had like a brunch, or not a brunch, but a lunch with hors d'oeuvres, handheld food, and drinks, cold drinks, and some cocktails. And Derek came in to address the crowd, and he thanked the Glazer family, and he recognized his family. And Tony Dungy was there, and he was there to broadcast the game on NBC on Sunday night. They had the rights to the game, and he recognized Tony. And before he finished his comments, he said, "I want this fellow over here, Gene Deckerhoff, come on up here." And I walked up there, and he put his arm around me at the podium. He said, this guy right here broadcast every game I played in my college and pro career. How about that? A Hall of Fame career, and Gene broadcast every game he played, except one. And I just couldn't interrupt the conversation. It sounded so good, TJ. I did not broadcast the '93 championship game. We could not get the radio rights for the Seminole Radio Network. That's one thing that I really, really wished I could have done. I missed. The very first broadcast I missed was that, and we could not get the rights to the Sugar Bowl when Deion Sanders intercepted the pass in the end zone to deny Auburn to come from behind win. We did not do the 87 or 89 Fiesta Bowls because of national radio rights kicking us off the air. So those are some games I wished I'd have done. I listened to the national championship game in '93 in my home, and when Scott Bentley started to kick the football for the game-winning field goal, I walked down the hall and closed my eyes and said a little prayer because we had some kicking issues.
I remember, that probably transitions really well. I remember Bobby talking about that, about how when he lined up and all those things had gone wide left, and finally Nebraska gets up and kicks theirs the other way. So talk to us. I know you've talked about him enough, but we will never get tired of hearing stories. But talk to us about Coach Bowden a little bit. Like I said, I know you can go on forever, but how much fun it was to broadcast his games and develop that relationship.
Bobby was the all-time greatest, in my opinion, and not only on the field, not only during interviews, pre-game shows, post-game shows, television shows, but Bobby Bowden was the real deal. What you saw on TV, what you saw on the interviews, that was Bobby Bowden. I mean, Bobby. There's never going to be another Bobby Bowden period. He took a football team that was 0-11, 3 years before he arrived in Tallahassee, or 2 years before he arrived, 3-8 the year before he arrived, and that was 3 years. I mean, Bobby came in '76. His only losing season at Florida State was that first year, 1976. We missed a bowl game in took us to a bowl in '77. We missed a bowl in '78 because we had a chance. We had a chance to go to the Peach Bowl, and something went on up there. Georgia Tech said we could sell more tickets to Florida State. And the folks at the brand new All-American Bowl from Birmingham were in the press box with the contract to be signed. And we'd have gone to a bowl game in '78. But the administration decided, let's wait. We're going to go to the Peach Bowl. We know they've assured us we're going. They pulled the rug out from underneath us. We ended up not going to a bowl in 1978, but from 1979. From 1979 until 2017, FSU went to 36 consecutive bowl games. Let me tell you a couple of stories before we run out of time on my coach, Bobby Bowden. One, my wife and I had taken a job at WTNT Radio to be the morning announcer and also sell advertising and do sports. And that was 1974. And we looked at the newspaper. There were 3 homes for rent in Tallahassee. We looked at all 3. It was on a Sunday, as I recall. And we selected a house at 920 Maplewood Drive, and we moved in. A month later, our next door neighbor said, a football coach used to live in that house. I said, really? Who is it? Well, he's coaching up at West Virginia now. It was Bobby Bowden. How about that? Is that God saying, hey, you want to live at Bobby's house, okay? So we move into Bobby. We were there for about 2 years and then moved to an apartment, then moved to our home, which we still live in 1977. So that's one thing. That has nothing to do with Bobby Bowden. That's just sort of being in the right place, right time, perhaps. But when I had the chance to do NFL football games for the Buccaneer Radio Network, Coach Bowden was in Jacksonville doing a TV commercial for me. I produced his show and sold the advertising for his television show. And one of our sponsors, they wanted all 3 football coaches to do a commercial, Florida State, Georgia. And so I sent Bobby over at 6 o'clock in the morning and I said, Coach, you'll be home by 2:30. And he was the very first coach to do this. And I'm down in Tampa with another one of our sponsors, Dairy Farmers Incorporated. They're having their convention, and the folks at WRBQ wanted to talk to me about being a play-by-play announcer for the Bucs. And I told them that, I'm going to do Florida State. I don't need to do anybody else. They said, we know how we can get you around. First time I ever saw a computer, TJ, was when I was at WRBQ's studios and they showed me the airline schedule and how they could get Gene Deckerhoff from Tallahassee or from where the Seminoles were playing or where the Bucs were playing that day. And they said, we can do that. We want you to continue doing Florida State. We would love to have you do the Bucs. So I said, well, I got to get permission from my boss, Andy Miller at Seminole Boosters, Hootie Ingram, the director of athletics at Florida State, and Bobby Bowden, obviously. And so I got permission from Hootie, permission from Andy. Yeah, go ahead, go for it. We think it'll be great. And Bobby is, I call Bobby's house at 4:30 in the afternoon, and he's not home. And Bowden answers the phone. He said, Bobby told me he'd be home at 2:15, 2:30, and he's not home. It's 4:30. And this is before cell phones, TJ. And I said, well, I'll call back at house at 5:30. I call, same thing. Bobby's not here. I'm getting worried. And saying, and I said, well, I'm sure he's going to be okay. And I'm sure they always run late because Bobby's the first one, and everybody else would walk off the set, but Bobby will hang around and he'll do the commercial. And so I called back at 7:30, and Bobby still wasn't there. Ann is worried now, and all of a sudden she says, "Hey, Gene, I hear somebody in the driveway. Maybe it's Bobby." She opens the door, and sure enough, it was Coach. And he's not in a very good mood. Okay, he is not in a good mood. And he says, and I very seldom called Coach at home. And he says, Gene, he says, you know what they did? They weren't even ready. They didn't have the cards to do the commercial. They had to drive them in. I took a nap. And he says, anyway, he said, what do you need? And I said, Coach, I've been offered a job to do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers radio broadcast. And he said, well, you're going to still do our games? Are you still going to do our games? I said, yes, sir, I'm going to. And I told him about, the airline schedule and all this. He said, well, JD, I think it's great. But why do you have to ask my permission? And I said, well, Coach, we may have to do your television show at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning after an away game, fly back to Tallahassee, do the TV show out at Channel 6. And he said, Jeannie, I think it's great. You can do the NFL and do our games. And you just wake me up after the commercials and we'll do that TV show anytime we want to. And there's not another coach on the planet, high school, college, pro, that would agree to do their television show at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, so their radio guy could go do an NFL game. God bless Bobby Bowden. Without that, hey, there's nothing wrong with being the voice of the Seminoles. Let me tell you that. That's a great run, a great ride, and a great job. And it's not a job. I mean, it's just a great opportunity to broadcast exciting football, exciting basketball, exciting baseball for Florida State fans. Then the little cherry on the top is the ability to get to that extra game. I've missed 1 quarter and 2 quarters. In 2 different games over the 33 years I've been doing both. And then I missed a game last year because of COVID. I had no symptoms. I had a little runny nose. I tested positive. And so I had to isolate for 5 days. But that's the only game in 33 years that I have missed. And Bobby Bowden set the stage for that. We continued. I did not do Jimbo's TV show. And then they stopped doing TV shows when Coach Taggart was here, and also now Coach Mark Norvell.
I mean, obviously, as a Seminole, you were excited that we won, but how cool was it to see Bobby finally get over the hump and win it in '93? I know you said you did the prayer before Scott kicked it, but personally, how happy were you for him to get that?
Well, when you look at the dynasty began in 1987. If you take away wide right 1, wide right 2, wide left 1, and wide short 1. Bobby would probably have won another 2, 3, maybe 4 more championships. So it was bad luck. But then again, you got to have a little bit of luck to win championships. And Bobby was, we had the luck. When Scott Bentley kicked the field goal in the 1993 championship against Nebraska, Bobby got the Powerade spilled all over, and it was freezing. It was cold out of Miami, but all of a sudden, a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty for celebration after the field goal, and then on the kickoff, another 15-yard penalty, and Nebraska was in field goal range to break our hearts and have a soaking wet Bobby Bowden go home without a victory and without a championship. But fortunately, like you say, it was wide. I mean, it was a hook. I mean, I've hit golf shots like that, but the hooked field goal enabled Florida State to succeed, win Bobby's first national champ. We won it with our first Heisman Trophy winner in Charlie. I saw Charlie yesterday at the Varsity Club Golf Tournament. I saw him last night at the Hall of Fame banquet, and Charlie is Charlie, the all-time greatest. And no matter what you say, he is absolutely the best. And he and his wife were at the banquet last night, and Charlie always looks good to me. But anyway, Charlie was the Heisman Trophy winner. We had the big parade in downtown Tallahassee celebrating the championship, and Charlie is our first Heisman Trophy. What a great season that was. And then Bobby finally got that champion. And, Bobby always had a blank. I'm talking way long here, but Bobby always had a frame in his office with no picture in it. And that frame was for his first undefeated team. And that did not come along. Think of all the great seasons we had, the dynasty, 14 straight with finishing in the top 5, double-digit wins. Nobody has done it before. Nobody has done it since. But Bobby did it 14 consecutive. And so that team, that 1999 championship team with Chris Winkie and P-Dub, Peter Warwick, and Corey Simon, the greats on that team. I can't tell you the whole team, but I'll tell you this: Peter Warwick was the most valuable player. Chris Winkie was the quarterback. But Bobby put the team photo of that team in that frame, and it was in his office until he moved out of the Moore Athletic Center at the end of 2009.
We'll wrap up here in just a minute, but I'll keep you for a couple more. You announced your retirement. Today's your last game. What is it? When you look back over it, we talked about the memories, we talked about the highlights, we talked about some of the lowlights with those games against that team from down south. But when you look back at your career and you think about this being your final game, like what is it? Is it, is it difficult? I mean, I know it's not easy, but just talk to us about, it coming to an end.
Well, I mentioned preparation, 90% of a broadcast, and then 10% inspiration. But I had forgotten how difficult spring games are to prepare for. We got about 95, 100 guys out there, and a lot of walk-ons. 23 new players that are practicing in Seminoles this spring for the first time, and about 11, 12 out of the transfer portal. The rest are recruits off a very good recruiting class that Coach Norvell put together this year. And so, just trying to get a few nuggets, a few notes on almost all the players. There are some that I can't get any information on, but then, we'll go ahead and broadcast the game. But preparation is done. Depth charts are done. Our crew is ready. And like I say, I can't wait till toe hits leather, but there probably will not be a kickoff in today's scrimmage. It's going to be ones versus ones, as I understand, twos versus twos. I may be a little wrong. They may shift this up. Sometimes spring games, like today's ball game, they make changes just before kickoff. So we're up in the booth. We're not down on the field. And we'll try to tell the true story about what we see. William Floyd is already pumped up. He is really pumped. William Floyd Jaden is a walk-on defensive back. And I saw him in a couple of practices that I went to. And I think he's going to be a heck of a player like his dad was. William scored the only touchdown for the Noles in that 93 championship game. Nebraska fans still think he was stopped short. But bar none says he was in, and he guarantees that was a touchdown. We beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But, anxious to see the quarterbacks. I in the practices that I have seen, I see what the writers are talking about, and Tate Rodemaker really making a move. And this is his third year in the program. In general, that's when quarterbacks start to feel a little more comfortable. Although the late Vic Premsey, who quarterback for the Noles and was my sidekick in the booth for about 18 years, he said that it was only his senior year where things really slowed down, that he could understand exactly what was going on. And so it takes time for quarterbacks at the Division I college level. But Tate looks like he's ready to back up Jordan Travis. Jordan is the man, and boy, Jordan just looks tougher and tougher, and he can run. Now today they're not going to be able to tackle quarterbacks, so you won't be able to see Jordan do his thing with his legs. But he's the only Seminole, the second Seminole in school history to have account for 5 touchdowns, 3 in the air and 2 on the ground. I think Jameis that was the other. So if you could replicate what Jameis Winston does, you're a heck of a quarterback. So AJ Duffy, we were at the media. The media had a little brunch, barbecue. The Mike Norvell started that tradition back, and so all the media there, and get a chance to ask Coach about what he's looking for in spring practice, and he throws out the quarterback, and he said AJ, and I didn't say the last name, and I had to look over to Jerry. I said, who's this AJ guy? Because I really, in basketball season, it's tough to follow basketball and football recruiting, but I said, he said, AJ Duffy. He said, yeah, I heard about AJ Duffy, but yeah, he's a true rookie, and he's going through the slings and arrows of what they call spring football practice, and he's going to be the number 3 quarterback. The Geno English is a walk-on quarterback. I think this is his second or third program. He's out of Winter Park, so we'll keep an eye on the quarterbacks, and the receiving core looks to be about as deep in depth and with talent as I think we've seen out there. Pokey's going to be the number one on Ontario Wilson, and they got some new guys. And you talk about that Super Bowl that, boy, I'm bouncing all over the place. What's the weather like today? Huh? Look at that white car. That white car driving by. Anyway, back to the spring game today. Michael Pittman was the leading rusher for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that season, that marvelous 2002 season, and he gained 100 yards, I believe. I'll look that up in the Super Bowl. A big reason why the Bucs were able to move. I know Allstott scored a touchdown, Pittman scored a touchdown, and then we had 2 defensive touchdowns, one by Derek Brooks, and Dexter Jackson, by the way, was the MVP from Quincy, Florida State Seminole. We had 4 Seminoles on that championship team. But back to Michael Pittman, his oldest son is now playing for the Indianapolis Colts. His youngest son signed in Oregon and now is playing as a Florida State Seminole. Micah Pittman wears number 4. And I'm hearing really good things about Micah Pittman and Keyshawn Helton. He's back. Malik McLean has taken a huge step, I believe. He's a big, long-armed guy with he's physical, and I think he'll be the starter at one of those spots on the wide receiver. So it's going to be fun. And Mickey Andrews was at the practice that I attended earlier this week, and it was pouring down rain outside. Thank you, Al Dunlap, for your money to build that indoor practice facility, because we would have drowned in that rainstorm. But indoors, Mickey Andrews was at practice. He and Wally Burnham, 2 former Florida State coaches, were at the practice, and Mickey came up to me. He said, "Hey, Gene," he said, "if you had to take a defensive and an offensive player, who would you take?" And I said, without hesitation, 13. That's Jordan Travis. You always start in a pickup game. You always start with a quarterback, okay? And he said, "How about defense?" I said, 5. He said, 5. And I said, "Yeah, that Verse kid, that pass rusher, that edge rusher that's got big shoes of Jermaine Johnson to fill this year. Those are the 2 that I would pick first." And I'm anxious to see. Again, you're not going to be allowed to sack the quarterback. But when you get to the quarterback and touch him, it's a quarterback sack, and I think fans want to see what all the talk is about. This guy wearing number 5, and that's Verse. He's a transfer from the University of Albany. The linebackers look a lot quicker, a lot more confident in their play, and actually, by the way, the defensive backs. I don't think we've ever had as many talented defensive backs as we have going into this 2022 season. Now, what's all this mean? That's my opinion. I'm a Seminole guy. I'm all I know is how to broadcast football games. I don't know the intricacies of coaching football or what to look at and scout and evaluate. But I like what I'm seeing. I think Mike Norvell likes what he's seeing. And you start against Duquesne on the 27th. I think it's the 28th of August. And then on that Labor Day Sunday, the following week, you take on the LSU Tigers in their backyard in New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll know an awful lot about this football team after those first 2 games.
Yeah, absolutely. We're excited to see it. I'll tell you what we're excited to hear. I want to see the defense improve, but I want to hear you get to call touchdown Florida State a whole lot tonight when we were in that stadium. So you said a lot, but
Mike Norvell called me 2 days after the announcement, and I was driving, so we didn't talk very long. And he just said, "Thank you, Gene, for everything you've done. We're going to miss you. We're really going to miss you." And then, it starts sinking in. This has been a big part of my life for 43 years football, 48 years basketball. And today, anyway, I told Coach Norvell, I said, "Coach, I've been saying touchdown Florida State, touchdown. In the spring game, it's always touchdown Gold, touchdown Garnet." And I said, what I'm going to do in this broadcast, I'm going to say touchdown FSU Gold, touchdown. But we're not going to have Gold and Garnet. They didn't separate the teams this year, so it will be touchdown Florida State, touchdown FSU.
Well, Gene, we appreciate you so much. What you've done for years for Florida State. I've told other people this, but I think for so many, you've told the story, right? We've seen it on TV, we've watched the team, but you legitimately told the story of the Seminoles for years and years. and we appreciate that. We appreciate you taking a little time this morning. We wish you the best of luck in retirement, but we hope you call a heck of a game tonight on the last one for sure.
Yeah, this will be my final Florida State football game, and obviously not basketball, not baseball, but I'm not going to do. That's it, and still we'll have a year with the Bucks. So let's see if Tom Brady can do his thing and win another Super Bowl for us.
We're all cheering, Bucks fans or not. We're all cheering for you to get a call one more Super Bowl. I just spoke for all of us. So thank you.
I have 3 sons. I only have 2 Super Bowl rings. Okay, I got to get a third.
Thank you so much for hanging out, man. We appreciate it.
All right, go Garnet and Gold. I should have put on my voice shirt. I was very bad about. Anyway, you check them out at Garnet and Gold, and they're very good looking. They also have. I think they may have a. I know they have an extra large because that's what I wear. I don't know about the double X, but. Ask Guy Moore. He may find a double X in there. Okay.
I'm being told double and triple. So we got anything you need down here. Get down to Garnet and Gold and get yours now.
All right. Go Knowles.
Appreciate it, buddy. All right, Gene Deckerhoff, the voice of the Seminoles. I'm going to invite. Come on, you can come on in here, Ariya. Let's hang out. Gene was awesome. I appreciate Gene for hanging out a little bit this morning from one legend to another.
Oh, man. Not quite even close, not yet.
We'll do a little spring game talk.
35 years in the making for him.
From one legend to a mini legend.
Sure, I'll take it. Thank you, TJ.
Thanks for hanging out. Ariya Massoudi of everything. So the Sunday Golds podcast.
Yeah.
We're still with the Osceola?
Doing some podcasts with the Osceola, women's basketball for Learfield, for Florida State.
Sunday Golds
hosted Pro Day this week for ACC Network. And, man, staying busy.
Yeah.
Just trying to follow Gene Deckerhoff's path. That's, if I get to half the career he had, I've done something right. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I asked him what that Gene can talk. I mean, just like Coach Bowden, right? Like Gene can just talk and tell you story after story after story. And I asked him what it meant to him to broadcast this last game. Yeah. And then he basically just took your whole job and explained the entire roster. And so thank you for coming today, but we're going to wrap up early.
You have a beer or something I grab? Get out of here.
That's this barbecue they're doing right in front of us. So again, live on location at Garnet and Gold. I don't know why they hooked that barbecue up right in front of me, but I'm definitely gonna have to get some when we're done here. Come on and get the Gene Deckerhoff voice shirt before you head to the game. Come check them out. But yeah, let's talk about the game a little bit.
Let's do it.
Let me go full screen on this so that people here can see it. Let's go through the roster. Let's talk about it a little bit. We'll start at the quarterback position. Sure. We've heard a lot of hype. I think we know what we're getting with Jordan Travis, and I think we're excited to see him really take the reins and take off. But there's been a lot of hype around Tate. You want to talk about Tate a little bit?
Yeah, let's do that because I think, he comes in and he comes from a family that's a bunch of football guys. And his dad coached for a long time in the high school level, was about to get another shot in the Georgia area. And Tate comes in with all the makings. And then I think, it took a couple of years for him to really, I think, adjust to the college game, the college speed. But that's what's great about spring practice, right? Yeah. It gives guys a chance.
Up there. Okay, we're back.
I think we're back.
Sorry if you lost us for half a second. Also really cool. Like we'll talk about Jordan too real quick. Mastering the offense is kind of what's been told, kind of what's been said. Yeah. Like I'm not.
Good weather.
Yeah.
We're back again.
We're back again. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Like I said, there's a hurricane, tornado, something going on up here. Jordan mastering the offense.
Yeah.
Excited about that for sure.
We really are. And I think, Jordan, he's always been a gamer, right? Like the guy, for what he lacks in, you want to say NFL draftable qualities, he makes up for, and I think heart and soul. And now he's Absolutely. I think him finally being the guy without, Mackenzie Milton, a lot of great things for this program was needed for competition, but you always have somebody kind of breathing down your neck. I think Jordan kind of understands this is his team. I think the commitment to Jordan Travis has finally allowed him to focus on development. And by all accounts, again, he has taken those steps forward. And man, if he improves as a pocket passer, goes through his progressions, which I'm excited to see if he can do that today, you've got a chance for one of the better quarterbacks in the ACC.
Yeah, without a doubt. And his stats, when he's in there and healthy, his stats are incredible. And they line up in the top 20 of quarterbacks nationwide. It's, can we get 12 games out of them, or 10 or more, right? And that was some of the issue last year.
It was. And one of the things I've always thought of him as is like, I don't think it's comparable 100%. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but like Marcus Mariota in college. I mean, Marcus is not an NFL talent. I mean, he's going to play for the Falcons this year, but he's become a backup quarterback at the league. But I think, a poor man's Marcus Mariota could be Jordan Travis. And if it's anything like what he was at Oregon, Florida State's going to win a lot of games because he can do a little bit of everything. He can hit you with the short passes and then hit you over the top. But then because he utilizes his legs, it's another different level. And so I'm excited to see Jordan hopefully stay healthy all season long, and maybe he can showcase all the things he's been working on with Coach Norvell.
Calling him a gamer is absolutely right. Other than the could be wrong here, but other than that Louisville game, there wasn't a game that Florida State wasn't in, right? Ended up losing the Clemson game on the last play by double digits, but was right in that game. The losses to top 15 or 20 teams, all within one score. So NC State really, really close. Jordan wasn't even in that one, and the team played well. So excited to see him take that next step, because I think they'll be in every game and have an opportunity to win every game that's on the schedule this year. Running backs. There's a lot of excitement around these running backs. And Trey Benson coming in from Oregon. Some of the guys returning, Ward to Philly. Some walk-ons making some noise and everything else. Is this a stable that we've got, or what's going on here?
I think we finally got some depth, and I think a lot of people thought when Deshaun Corbin decided to go pro, there would be a lot of question marks with the running backs. But Benson, he's answered, I think, some injury questions if his knee's holding up at that high level. And I'm excited. I'm really excited to see that group specifically, because if you block for them, I think you add Jordan Travis's legs to the mix too. And I think you could probably have one of the better rushing attacks in college football. Yeah.
You talked about blocking for them. Offensive line has been a struggle for quite a while, almost a decade now, right? Maybe since the championship team. But more certainty there. Not a ton of depth, but more certainty there. A little bit more of a sure thing. If we can keep guys healthy, probably feel better about the offensive line than we had maybe since 2013.
Yeah, if they stay healthy. Again, I think today in the spring game, there's a number of them that are banged up, so you're not going to see them. But they went and got all the different guys they needed to out of the portal, I think. And when you couple that with the guys that have progressed over the years and came here as freshmen and have worked, I think, Atkins is such an elite coach.
So
he's probably one of the best 5 coaches at his position in the country. I think people who don't think that will know that by the time, his career is over in college football. He might be an NFL guy one day, but I really do think the offensive line is the key. If you can't block people, it doesn't really matter. And I think that for the last couple of years, when Florida State's offense has struggled, it's been because up front they haven't been able to hold the point of attack, right? Against Clemson, they could have beat Clemson last year at Clemson. The problem was Clemson's D-line is really good. FSU really couldn't match up there, and Clemson's offense figured out one final drive. But, I'm looking forward to it. I think, continuity with the offensive line is always such a big deal, and you're going to get some of that this year, and getting guys who have had snaps all over the place, whether that's at Florida State or Wisconsin or Bless Harris. It doesn't really matter. They've played. And so I'm looking forward to seeing if they all take that next step forward, because I truly believe the offense has another level it can get to.
Yeah. Another big part of that is we seem to have very much upgraded the wide receiver room, not only with bringing guys in, but also just guys that were there taking another step. Gene talked about Pokey Wilson and different guys, but talk about that wide receiver room. There is there are a number of options there. I guess you could throw Cam McDonald and the tight ends in there as well, but just the weapons on the outside for Jordan to be able to throw to.
Talking to a couple of people who said they didn't expect Pittman to be as good as he has been. I think they thought, he might be a nice number 3. He might come in and be like a Keyshawn Helton type. But Pittman comes in and he's made some grabs and, toe touches in the back of the end zone. He's getting open, running crisp routes. And by all accounts, too, he's been a big guy in the locker room for the team. So I'm excited there. Johnny Wilson coming in from Arizona State, 6'7". That doesn't grow on trees.
Don't hate that.
So I don't hate that. There's some inconsistency there, apparently. He's got a problem with drops. But at the same time, he's been making more plays than he hasn't. And at 6'7", you throw it up there to him. When's the last time we had somebody you had a true jump ball threat? I mean, Kelvin Benjamin could go up and get it, but Greg Carr?
Yeah.
Maybe the last time you could really just throw Auden Tate, I guess, could fit that mold. But truly, Greg Carr was the last, just go up there in the red zone and toss it
every time. Yeah.
So I'm excited about that. Pokey Wilson, obviously, the talent is off the charts, right? So it's a jinx. So I'm excited about that group altogether. Obviously, we hope Winston gets right and comes from, from the injury. I think people thought he might be the best receiver in that core that was coming in. Obviously, the most accomplished when you looked at his career stats at West Virginia. But as a whole, I think that group probably needs to take the biggest step forward to help out Jordan Travis and to help out the offensive line, because there were times last year, you get to 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you're thinking, I think this drive might be cooked.
Right.
And, you don't want to put that pressure. Norvell's a great game plan guy, and he knows how to stay ahead of the chains, but you want to be able to have some guys help out the quarterback. The way that Parchman did it, 4th and 14 against Miami. I mean, those are obviously that's not going to happen every single time, 4th and 14.
Right.
But the way that he helped his quarterback there on the play,
come back to the ball,
creating separation, coming back to the ball, I just hope that group takes another step forward in that area. And spring, perfect time to kind of showcase that. And that's one of the things I'm actually looking for most today.
Yeah, it's nice that they're all in early. The Winston Wright injury, I mean, thank God that he's okay. But the Winston Wright one,
brutal, though.
It hurts, but thankfully, everyone's in early and they've gotten this time to get that camaraderie with Jordan and get that relationship built and get that timing down. Really going to have 6 months when you look at it until the season starts to get all that down.
Gene mentioned Malik McClain. I think that was a fan favorite for a lot of guys, for a lot of people last year. And so could he take another step forward? He has all the goods. So we'll see. Exciting
to see. All right, flip over to the other side. Gene was talking about the defensive ends. There's been some really good defensive line competition just in general. Yeah. Obviously, there's a lot of excitement and hope for Verse to be that guy because of how spoiled we got last year with Jermaine and Kerr on the edges. But talk to us about the defensive ends, but the defensive line just in general.
I think the interior is going to be monstrous, right? I mean, Coop and having Fabian Lovett as well, I think you could argue that's the best tandem in the ACC. Yeah. I mean, in the country, we've got to see how that pans out. But if you can block up the middle, I think you've got a shot on the D-line to be pretty good. And then now Verse has flashed. I think they wanted to see him get a little bit more consistent as we get into fall and the season starts. But Briggs, they like him a lot too. And there have been a number of guys that have stepped up behind McClendon. They think, could be a nice piece. And I actually do believe the D-line will be the strength of this team again. You're not going to have a Jermaine Johnson. I think that's a top 10 pick probably. Yeah. I think he's worked his way up now to where people are projecting him as high as like 5 to 7. And that's insane. So if Verse can give you 8 to 10 sacks, I mean, you're pretty happy with what you got.
Absolutely.
And, I haven't had a chance to really see Verse play in a game yet. Maybe today will be our first chance to see his explosion off the line. But I am really looking forward to that group altogether.
Another group, and again, maybe a theme here, but it seems like we're thinking every group is taking a step, which hopefully, again, the team takes a step then with them. Yeah. But another group that people are really excited about is the linebackers, right? We're just going through the depth chart at this point, but man, bringing in Bethune, they say Deloach. I mean, Deloach really flashed at the end of last year. Really then you got Lundy as your third guy, and he doesn't have the pressure of being that second guy. And so talk to us about the linebacker room and just kind of what your expectations are there.
Yeah, I think going and getting Tatum Bethune was probably significant and maybe like the most important piece that they got all off season, because the linebackers, I know for a couple of years, haven't quite played up to the potential that I think a lot of people wanted to see them at. So going and getting a bona fide stud, someone who's done it, and you kind of just throw them out there and go, hey, just go do what you've been doing for the last 4 years at UCF. And I'm excited about that. And you mentioned Lundy. I want to see him take that next step forward. And Deloach, I think, has the makings of the next great Florida State linebacker. And then we'll see what they do with Amari Gaynor. I don't know if he's a linebacker, if they start moving him closer to the line. But that'll be interesting. And then Steven Dix has apparently taken a couple of steps forward. And I know Dix hasn't so far quite lived up to that billing that he came out of high school, but man, people were in love with him when he came out of high school.
So much raw talent.
Yeah, so much raw talent. So you just wonder, and people just develop at different paces. I think some guys come in and they're ready to be stars from day one, and other guys need 2 years. And we live in a world right now, right, where everybody wants it fast. And it's like, hey, if you can't show it to me in the first year or two, get out. And so it's like, give them some time. But the linebackers, again, by all accounts, you talk to anybody and you go to a practice or two, and they definitely look like they know what they're doing a little bit more than they did last year, especially in coverage. That's where they were getting hit last year in pass coverage, dropping back. I think they'll be better in that area.
Awesome. So then we finish up with the defensive backs. Well, we'll show some specialist love here in just a minute, but we'll finish up on the defense with the defensive backs. Gene was talking about it. A lot of pieces back there.
Yes.
You bring in Vance, But then you got, I mean, happy birthday, Kevin Knowles. I saw it was his birthday today. But,
Happy birthday.
you know, you've got a lot of talent back there. Some young guys flashing with Thomas and McCall. You know, Robinson coming back. And just, I'm excited for the defensive backs for sure. I'm excited for DBU to get back.
No kidding.
For.
I mean, people saying Dent and Robinson could be the best safety tandem in the conference. That's a blessing to have, no doubt. And you know, you just kind of look at all the way around. What about Damori Tate? Like, when are we going to see him take that next step forward? Because if you remember, Clemson was all over him late, trying to get him to flip, and Alabama wanted him too. So I really am excited about that group. But I think versatility will be the key with that group. Who do we put in the nickelback? Yeah. That becomes a question. Obviously, Brownlee deciding to go on and play at Louisville, I guess today was the announcement. But it seems like FSU is going to be fine at DB. And I think that's probably been your most talented position group for a couple of years now. Yeah. And I'm hoping this is the season, like you just said, DBU, but that we start to play to the capabilities that a lot of those guys had coming in. And so, I'm excited to see how they match up.
And if we play complementary, we talked about how at times the defensive line flashed last year, and at times the linebackers made plays, and at times the defensive backs made plays. But if we can play complementary and you're getting that good pass rush from the middle, which we expect to be really good, you get guys like Verse and Briggs coming off the edge and kind of creating havoc. I don't care if you are DBU, you can't cover for 8 seconds, right? Like, and so if a Clemson quarterback has 8 seconds to throw, he's going to light us up, right? And so I think that if they can play complementary, that can really help and be big. So, okay, specialist Michael Pittman. They're talking about really really special at wide receiver, but when he was coming in, they were talking about him being like a punt return guy. Is he still going to do that if he's like wide receiver number 1, or what are their thoughts here?
I think he will. I mean, the average per return that he had last year at Oregon was really high. And when's the last time we had a punt returner that you could kind of count on? I mean, Greg Reed's the first name that comes to everyone's mind. Willie Reed was really good punt return too. And Rashad Green wasn't bad at Florida State. He could break the ball. When he caught it, he could go for a long way. But I think that's an area that can change a game. They call it like hidden yards, in football. And there's been a couple years in a row now where I don't think special teams has quite helped Florida State and put them in good positions to where you have a short field. Or on the defensive side of the ball, you punt the ball well. And I love Mastromano, so I think you're in good hands there. But that's an area and a unit that I think has to take a step forward. And it's Mike Norvell's specialty. I mean, it's one of those things that he takes a lot of pride in. And at Memphis, they were phenomenal. So, a couple years in now to the Norvell era, and maybe we'll start seeing his imprints finally take hold on the program. Yeah.
You talked about wide receivers being something you're looking for. What else are you looking for? You mentioned wide receivers, so if you have 1 or 2 more things or 10, whatever you got, what else are you looking for to see today?
Knock on wood, everyone stays healthy.
Yeah.
I think it's spring practice. It's a glorified scrimmage, and you need it. You need people healthy.
Yeah.
Quarterback, I'm always interested to see what happens. Is Duffy the real deal? We'll find out, won't we?
Yeah.
I think people have been pretty high on what he's been able to do so far this spring. And, Rodemaker, I'm excited to see. And let's see if Jordan Travis can show you something across the seam or on a post route that he hits perfectly in stride. And you go, all right, I don't know if he could have made that throw last year. And so that's what I'm looking forward to. And then defensively, just seeing who stands out. Spring games, like that one chance you kind of see new names that you didn't really know.
Had no clue coming into
it. You're reading all the different outlets and who's covering practice, and they'll tell you this guy stood out and this guy stood out. And it's like, finally, this is the time to hopefully see it play out on the field.
Yeah. Ariya Massoudi, thank you for hanging out. I do want to ask you this too. You cover women's basketball.
Yeah.
Call all their games, right?
Sure.
How excited are you for Coach Brooks? We love Coach Sue.
Yeah.
I was like, happy and sad at the same time. But how excited are you for Coach Brooks?
She deserved it. I mean, that was someone who really deserved the job. And I think Coach Sue, that's who she wanted to take over was Brooke Wyckoff. And there's a lot of pieces coming in, a lot of pieces leaving. So it'll be a brand new roster really next year. But I'm excited about it. We should see how it goes.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. Again, live on location at Garnet and Gold. Get down here. They've got a smoker out with barbecue and everything else. Ton of gear. You can get the Gene Deckerhoff voice shirt. You can get, we talked about yesterday, the Sydney Sherrill and Kaylee Mudge NIL shirts are here. Look, I'm sure they've got this polo for sale over there. So, Ariya, thank you again for hanging out.
Yeah, man.
Where can people, we talked about at the beginning, but they're tuning in. Yeah. Where can they find your work? Where can they find, you do everything, I feel like. But where can they find, take 10 minutes and list it for us?
No, sure. So on Twitter, I'm at Ariya Massoudi. That's easy to find, first and last name. And then radio for Florida State women's basketball. We're on 96.5 and Learfield IMG. So doing that. ACC Network Extra in the thick of baseball and softball season, calling some of those games. And, baseball starting to try and figure things out, hopefully. And softball's been a juggernaut. And so they've got a great series this weekend against Virginia Tech.
I was there last night. Did you see that? Did you see that infield home run?
That was insanity.
I was sitting with, you talk about doing I was sitting with Kaylin and Sean.
You were.
When that happened, and I just was like, I fell out. I was just like, I think I'm done here. So
and Flaherty missed a walk-off by about,
this much.
Inches. And so softball's going to keep doing great. And, the Sunday Golds podcast, we try and talk FSU baseball once or twice a week. And, I'm all over the place. It's hard to miss, I think, at some points. But hopefully in a booth near you somewhere. Yeah. Cool. Well, we're looking for a replacement for Gene. So man, I've thought about it. Trust me, that has not flown over my head. But I think today's a day to celebrate him.
Absolutely.
And let him be the GOAT that he is. And man, what a career. What a career.
We appreciate Garnet and Gold for letting us do this. Again, come out and support a locally Knoll-owned business. And then we have a tailgate that I'm doing with Double Fries right after this, right by the Heritage Fountain. So if you want to come hang out and grab some food, grab some beer, come on out. So
I'll be there. We're going. We're going.
He's going to do a couple of keg stands. So it'll be
fun. 5 years ago, potentially.
I'm washed at this point.
Dude,
so
headaches immediately.
Maybe one.
Hangover's not even the next day anymore. It's like 5 hours later. You're like, what is happening?
Maybe one light beer. So
a high noon.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe half of one. So appreciate Garnet and Gold. We'll be back tomorrow night. We've got a special guest on Double Fries No Slaw tomorrow night. He might be coaching in this game. We didn't talk about that. But like the coaching legends coming back is pretty neat. It's cool.
Is that a surprise? You're not telling them?
I'm not telling you guys who it is. I'll tell you as soon as we cut it off. But we've got one of the legends coming on, and then another one coming on in a few weeks. So thank you to Garnet and Gold for letting us do this. We'll see you guys out at the spring game. Go Noles.
Go Noles.